Alright folks, well it's been a few days, but we've got all the parts together and we finally got a little bit of a break in the weather, enough to get the brakes finished up on the old Blazer here. So we're going to go ahead and get at it. Alright, as you can remember from earlier, we had some broken brake hardware. Stuff really rusty. This truck sat close to the ocean for several years, so we went ahead and bought us a new brake hardware kit. We're going to go ahead and break that out. So you can see it's got the parking brake hardware, all the springs, everything we need to go ahead and put this back together. And we have a set of brake shoes. Unfortunately, the old ones being so saturated with oil, there's just nothing you can do with that. Alright, you see it's got two different lengths of shoes. The short shoe goes to the front, long shoe goes to the back. So, we have left, come on, there we go. We've left the parking brake cable still attached to that, and that's all still pretty greasy, so we're going to get some brake clean and hose off everything here. Now comes the fun part. This is the part I always hate, and that is pulling the dadgum parking brake cable off. Get a pair of vice grips on the end here. Hold that nice and tight. I know there's got to be an easier way of doing this, but alright, there we go. So, now what we have to do is we have to go ahead and make sure that okay. The brake hardware kit only includes a new adjuster here. It does not include the new arm. So we're gonna have to we've got to get this pin and this clip out of here. And we're gonna have to get a little screwdriver to pull that loose. I was under the impression that this was a complete brake hardware kit, and evidently it is not 100% complete. Alright, let's get this little snap ring pulled off, knock the pin out, and then we will get the corresponding non-filled with oil shoe. Actually, I think what we're going to do is, seeing that we did not have to pull the parking brake lever off, let's get this cleaned up and put it back on the All right. Well, we finally got that critter put back on. So now we're going to attach this back to the new shoe. Get that little E-clip back on there. And then, this is one of the reasons why I only take apart one side at a time. And that's so that I can go ahead and go over to the other side and check to see how everything's assembled, especially if I've had it apart for a few days. So, at any rate, we're going to go check and see how everything goes on the other side, and we'll come back and put this back together here. Alright, first thing we're going to do is put this arm together. We'll get this arm, and we can go ahead and go off of the old one on this side here to go ahead and figure out how all this goes together. That, and then, okay, this spring goes in like that. And I don't think that's going to work too well. Yeah, that ain't going to work. There we go. These tools are great if you're going to be working on drum brakes much at all. Even if you're not going to be working on them much, it's definitely worth having them. All right, so that is going to go onto the shoe like that, and then this is going to clip, actually, set that shoe on there, making sure that we get the studs coming out of the wheel cylinders installed correctly. And then this bar here locks on like that. We'll have, and this locks into the shoe like that. Now we have to find all of our, alright, well, all of our springs and retainers and everything else that goes with it. Now, these are the right springs for the for the rear shoes. This is going to go through the hole in the backing plate. We'll have our spring and our spring retainer, and then our tool here for installing the springs and retainers. And there we go. We've got one shoe partially installed. And we'll get our front shoe and well now that's going to install like that, and there should be a spring kind of an oval looking spring for that one. Where did it go? Okay, we've also got this little spring here that goes between the shoe and the adjuster. And then this little critter here. You gotta be kidding me. Brake adjusting tool. I'll be honest with you folks, I am not super familiar with these Chevy brakes like this. I have, most of my experience has been with full-size Jeeps, and their stuff seemed to be a little bit different, a little bit earlier style. There we go. Now we're going to what are we going to do now? We have to find the spring for this here. Well, looks like we may have come to a stopping spot here. On the front of this piece here, there's supposed to be kind of an oval-shaped spring, and I am not finding it in the pile of stuff that that came off the brakes when we took it apart. And there are no new ones in the kit. So we're going to have to go root through the scrap pile or root through some of the other stuff that I have and see if we can't find a replacement. These brakes have been done by somebody at some point in time, and I'll bet you they lost it and never put it back on. So let's go see if we can find another one of those. Well, we can't find that spring, but we do have to do the other side as well, because with the broken hardware on this side here, I want to go ahead and replace the hardware on the other side as well. The other side does have that spring, so we're going to just time-lapse you through getting the other side done. Okay, we're back. We finally got this little spring here. This is spring that goes onto the transfer bar or equalizer bar for the brakes. So we're going to go ahead and get the rest of this reassembled, and we need to go find the anti-seize. All right, on your adjusters. This is a trick that my dad taught me years and years and years ago, and he said whenever you're doing this to go ahead and put anti-seize on the threads of your self-adjusters, and on this spot here, so that when you're putting this you know, so while this is in service, you don't end up, it won't end up seizing up. A lot of times, especially if you live somewhere where there's, where they salt the roads during the winter time, these things will get locked up, seized up, and then you lose all of your self-adjusting capabilities of your rear brakes. So we're going to go ahead and take and install our self-adjuster. And get our, actually it's easier to set your bottom spring. And then get your self-adjuster. Make sure you install it the correct way so that this star wheel is up against the lever right down here. It always helps to have about 3 or 4 hands to do this. There we go. All right, now I need to get this installed. An awful lot of bits and pieces going together here at the same time, trying to go together at the same time in the same place, so it's best to be patient and don't get in too big of a hurry. One last spring here. And there we go. Make sure that everything is securely fastened in there. Now get your drum, set your drum on. Now on these, a lot of drum brakes, they have the slot for adjusting the brakes up in the back, on the backing plate. This particular one has the adjustment slot right here on the drum itself. So when you do this, you're going to need to go ahead and put a couple of lug nuts on there to tighten this up, to make sure the drum is tight up against the hub. So take a couple of lug nuts, and I put them on backwards just to do this. You don't have to be all that tight. You just need to secure it onto the axle flange. And then you'll go in there and just you got to kind of feel your way through. And you don't want to tighten it up too tight, because if you do, it's hard to back it off with the self-adjuster lever. So give it a few clicks and then twist the drum, spin it to see how it tightens up, and when you start feeling and hearing a little bit of drag, stop, and then then just drive it, and let the self adjuster do the job. Now the one on the other side took quite a bit of adjusting, so I got a feeling these drums have been turned at some point in time. Okay, it's starting to go ahead and drag on the drums a little bit now. So we'll have to drive it in order to get the shoes centered up in the drums and to get the self-adjuster to start working. But basically that's it. All we got left to do is fill up the rear end. I didn't show sealing up the cover and then reinstalling the cover yesterday, because literally you can go, there's 10,000 freaking videos on how to do that on YouTube. So at any rate, normally this thing's got a locker in the rear end, and normally on any kind of a limited slip or a locker you have a friction modifier that you have to put in. According to the lube order, there is no, the only differentials on these Cuckvy family of vehicles that get a friction modifier in them is the front ends on a 1028 and a 1031. So the 1009 just takes regular old gear oil, so we're going to go ahead and get that filled up, and then we'll get the tires and wheels put back on it and get it back into the fleet. Okay. Now this is the fill spout, or the filler plug on these 1009s. I'm going to pull that filler plug out. Get our nozzle in there and start pumping. Now, I was fortunate enough several years ago to have been able to acquire one of these. This is a gear oil pump, and we'll go ahead and just spin this back around to 0. This is some old school stuff here. I think this is supposed to take about 5 pints, something around in there. This is really hard to film this and pump at the same time. We'll just kind of keep an eye on that. I don't know if you guys can see that well, but that's showing 5 pints on the gauge there. So we'll just give it a couple more pumps. Okay, there we go. All right, now it's time to get the tires and wheels put back on. Now, I always like to use a little bit of anti-seize on the studs, just for good measure, and so that I can have silvery stuff. Some people put chrome rims on. I just put anti-seize on it. It all ends up looking silver enough soon enough anyway. All right, folks, well, that's it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. Any rate, remember, like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends. It helps the channel grow. It really does. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks again for watching.